Janet, the 10th and youngest child of the famous Jackson family, takes center stage in a new self-titled documentary. The tell-all feature comes as she marks the 40th anniversary of her debut album, and explores way beyond her on-stage career. Born in May 1966 in the city of Gary in Indiana, Janet was barely 2 years old when her brothers signed a record deal with Motown as the Jackson 5. They soon had their first #1 hit, and moved to the Encino neighborhood of Los Angeles. Wendy Watt grew up next door to the Jackson family. She told the documentary that a lot of people had moved out to the LA suburb to escape the city itself. It was an affluent, white neighborhood. She said the Jacksons were the first black family to move into the area, and it proved a little controversial. Janet opened up on some of the racism she was subjected to in the documentary. She recalled, "A lot of people didn't want us there. They had this petition going around that we wouldn't be in the neighborhood. I remember walking down the street and being called the N-word, someone driving by and calling it out. You'd be told to go back home to your country." Janet recalled feeling racial prejudices at school, both from teachers and fellow students. She remembered some of the kids touching your hair because your hair was different from theirs. She continued, "Or your skin, rubbing it like, does that come off? No, does yours?" The Jackson 5 were pioneers in American popular culture, and they could not have arrived at a more crucial time in American society. In December 1969, they released their first single "I Want You Back." Just a year earlier, America's urban inner cities were burning. Riots broke out in more than 100 American cities following the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. With 11-year-old Michael leading, and brother Jermaine as second lead singer, the Jackson 5 represented a new generation for Black Americans. They proved that, against all odds, African Americans could reach the very top. Children across the country, regardless of race, gender and ethnicity, wanted to be the Jackson 5. Janet has used her own career to draw attention to the issues of injustice that are closest to her, from equality to HIV/AIDS awareness. Her 1989 record Rhythm Nation, widely regarded as one of the best albums of the '80s, was her breakthrough. She became a star in her own right, rather than Michael Jackson's younger sister. Her success has often been considered a turning point for both pop and R&B, with her influence reaching Britney Spears, Beyoncé and beyond. Though Janet and her siblings remained exceptionally close, Janet admitted she realized that she was beginning to drift apart from Michael after his 6th studio album. She told the documentary, "Whenever Mike would do an album, he'd throw me in his car and we'd listen to it from front to back to see what I thought. I remember really loving the Thriller album. But for the first time in my life, that's when I felt it was different between the two of us, that a shift was happening. That's the time where Mike and I started going our separate ways. We weren't as close." Janet also offered a brief insight into her heartbreaking final conversation with the Man in the Mirror singer. All the family were in attendance at a surprise party for Catherine and Joe, their mother and father. Janet said, "He was sitting next to me, and he was laughing like crazy and he had that deep laugh and I remember him looking over at me. And the last thing we said to each other was 'I love you' and that was the last time I saw him." Janet is available on Sky Catch Up and Now.